Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. And I'll be doing this for a while, 2024, and we still continue to creep up to almost 8,000 interviews. We're getting closer every week. And anybody knows that, since I was a little boy, I worked for my family, and my favorite topics are always food-related businesses. And with that in mind, I want to introduce you to Chris Kirby, founder and CEO of Ithaca Hummus. Well, then we guess we know what Chris makes.
Yes, thank you for having me. And I will add hummus and now salsa as well.
Ah, salsa. That's one of my wife's favorites.
We're going to have to get you guys some samples.
Well, that's very sweet of you. Why don't you tell us, Chris, about Ithaca Hummus? Because you're in a category that's on the curve, and it's quite a competitive category. And I think it's one of the more interesting ones in the food industry. And it's a branded product. So you got a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, we do. And I would agree. Hummus is a very exciting category. But at Ithaca Hummus, we are obsessed with quality, first and foremost. And as a food company, and for me as a chef, that obsession with quality really starts with the sensory experience, specifically taste and texture. And I would put our quality team up against anyone else, not just in our category, but in the industry. We're constantly working with our suppliers and monitoring and testing quality at every step of the process, from the fields where our chickpeas and our lemons and our garlic are grown, all the way through the supply chain up to the final product before it gets shipped out to consumers. And we use ingredients like cold pressed lemon juice, crushed garlic, the onions and the tomatoes and the peppers in our salsa are all diced to 1/8 of an inch specifically, so that we can ensure that the consumer is getting the exact sensory experience that we intend for them. And so taste and texture are really number one for us. Flavor is number one for us. But it goes deeper than that, right? I mean, there's a lot that you can go and read about crops and grains and chickpeas with glyphosate. And that's the chemical that is found in Roundup that's linked to cancer. And so we take that extra step, and we've partnered with our farmer to make sure that our products and our chickpeas and our raw materials are 100% glyphosate free. There's a lot in the news about seed oils and how they can be inflammatory, and how hexane is used in the process of extracting the oil from the seed. And there's education to be done around that, because I think that is definitely a generalization. We use expeller pressed high oleic sunflower seed oil in our product, and that's an intentional choice. And so it starts with this obsession with quality, and flavor, taste, and texture are a big part of that. But those are really table stakes in today's world. And we take pride in the fact that we shine the flashlight in all the dark corners, and we take pride in the fact that we make the right decision on behalf of ourselves, our families, and our consumers.
Chris, take me back a little bit. I'm going to do this a few times with you, maybe. The starting of a food business can be quite difficult, and you're a retail product. Take us back to your original retail meetings as an entrepreneur. Were they tough to get people to carry the product line?
Yes, I mean, I started at a farmer's market in Ithaca, New York. We had one flavor. I would show up on Saturdays and hand out samples to every person that came within 10 feet of me. They would not walk by without getting a sample. And so was lucky to have that experience, because that really gave me the confidence to walk into a random grocery store and say, hey, let me sit down with the manager, because I know that if I can get them to taste my product, they're going to have the same reaction that someone at the farmer's market. That I had seen that thousands and thousands of times. So, I had that working in my favor. And I would actually say today, meeting with the Krogers and the Targets and the bigger retailers here in the US, at least, it's a much more complex and difficult conversation. But at the beginning, what I had was passion and confidence, and a product that just blows your socks off when you try it. Um, I wouldn't say that before getting started, I had that level of confidence. It was really the product and the reaction that helped build that. And it wasn't, it wasn't too hard for me to go in and just sit there and feel like the right decision was going to be made based on what I was bringing to the table.
So you mentioned salsa. Was that a big decision, and why salsa?
Yes, it was a big decision. It's one that we had played with for 5 years. Our hummus process, one of the things that makes us unique is we're cold processed. So we blend the chickpeas, we cool them all the way down, we blend all the fresh ingredients in there so that they retain the fresh taste and texture. Well, salsa is the same way. You don't want to heat those fresh ingredients, because if you do, it mutes the flavor and it changes the texture. And so we've set up a processing facility where we make all of our products, that the exact same process that we use for our hummus, minus the blending and the pureeing, was really ideal to make the freshest salsa that's on the shelf today. And that's exactly what we did. And with a name like Ithaca Hummus, that was maybe the hardest part, was like, people know us as a hummus company, and now we're introducing salsa. So how do we deal with that from a brand perspective? And we're still maybe working through that a little bit, but product wise, it made perfect sense for us.
Are you the sole owner of the company?
I was at the beginning. About, let's see, 4 years in, we partnered with a manufacturer, our co-manufacturer. They started out just making our products. We went that year from $900,000 in sales to $3.5 million in sales. And they were like, hold on a second, we know you need money, so to grow this thing, let us become an investor. And we happily did. That was a very strategic move that I was fortunate to have available. And then most recently, last year, we took another investment from a very, very large food company that I won't mention the name of, unfortunately. But so combined, the co-packer and the other brand that we're partnered with own 40%. And then myself and my team, we have retained 60% ownership at this stage.
So you really have had the full entrepreneurial experience.
Yeah, I mean, minus the obsession with going out and raising tons and tons and tons of money, which I'm fortunate to say that I didn't go down that road. I think in the food business and in the CPG space today, we're seeing like, hey, we're not selling software. We're selling a low margin, consumable, durable good that is not going to have the growth rate or the margins that the venture capital world was built on. And for the last 5 years, there were a lot of CPG, brands that came out and raised money like crazy. And we just have taken it step by step. Incremental growth has been the name of the game for us. And so in that sense, yes, we've grown a good, solid business first that's ready to grow without, imploding in the process.
So you've built your own sales force internally?
Yes, we have 4 members on our sales team currently and a sales analyst. But we do partner with brokerage firms in the food world, in the deli category, who know the buyers, who can help get us plugged in. But yeah, we have a sales team internal.
So they work with the brokers around the country.
Yeah, and we try to set kind of rules around that. Like, we want to own the relationship with the customer, and we want the broker to support the nuts and bolts of paperwork and making sure we're submitting deals and behind the scenes. We want to be in front of the customer all the time, but those brokers are incredibly important from a support perspective.
Well, speaking as someone who eats hummus almost every day, I just want to ask you, what's coming next on the hummus front? What can we be looking for in the next couple of years? Any new changes?
Oh boy, yes. We are launching 2 new flavors in early 2024. One of them is jalapeno lime, and the other one is French onion. And so the traditionalist is gonna, look at that and maybe, their skin might peel a little bit thinking about French onion hummus. It's not really, it should be classic and red pepper. But, that's one of the things we bring to the category. And as I mentioned, I think maybe off air, we're trying to take this category from an entertainment based usage occasion to an everyday heavy user experience. And we think that introducing flavors that are trending and popular with consumers is a good way to do that.
I would agree with that. Our interviews tend to be a little bit shorter. We're speaking with Chris Kirby, founder and CEO of Ithaca Hummus. Chris, if someone's looking for you and the company, how would they find you?
I'm very active on LinkedIn. It's a great way to connect with me. And if you send me a message, I don't make any promises on speed. I get a little bit overwhelmed, but I try to make a point to get back to everybody. And if I'm not the right person in my company, then I will direct you to the right place.
Right. Again, we've been speaking with Chris Kirby. Thanks for being on the show today. We hope you come back again in 2024. We're big fans of hummus, and this is Radio Entrepreneurs.